De los 10 equipos que hay, a cualquiera le veo ganando y perdiendo.
We gotta clear heads from last split so we can perform better.
I just want to be the best possible player I can be individually and perform the best possible way we can be as a team.
We will be one of the teams of people who speak positively about in Summer Split.
We just need to find a kind of consistency to give it our all in every game.
We do still want to make it to Worlds, even if a lot of people think it's unrealistic. We have a really positive outlook.
Coming back from Israel too has boosted our confidence. Now we know we can do it again.
You have to basically prove yourself that you're LCS worthy.
I don't feel any pressure to perform. There's no need to be scared.
There is no expectation, there's only play.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the European League Championship Series. We're back for day 2 of the summer split here in our studio in Berlin, Germany. As you can see, our fans are ready to go as they usually are. Our Unicorns of Love fan who was there yesterday as well. Ryu getting a lot of fan support as well as a Fnatic cheerleader. I don't think, well, they always need cheering on, but they're doing very well as is. And their quick shot is setting up for his interview later with Crawley. And here's H2K entering the studio looking for that second victory here on day 2 as they will be fighting versus Origen in game 1. There they are, the brand new team out of Challenger. Yesterday a victory versus Giants. We'll see what they do today. I'm Evie Shoksupporter here behind the analyst desk with Challenger Series shoutcaster James Stress O'Leary and the newest member of our EU LCS team, Mitch Kreppel-Voorspoels. Well, how was your first day? Feeling ready?
I'm so ready for this.
All right, well, with just 5 games on the book so far, that was like, this could be a little bit more intense.
I'm so ready, Shock.
Yes!
Let's get going.
All right, let's see where the teams stand as of now. Copenhagen Wolves, Elements, Fnatic, H2K, and Origen at the top of the tables with a 1-0, and the rest trailing behind only at 0-1 though. Well, we talked to the players a lot yesterday. Obviously, they don't look into it that much. We don't either, but we do see a couple of trends developing. Maybe first and foremost, Fnatic, fantastic in the spring split, and well, after MSI looking even stronger.
Yeah, they look just really solid. They upgraded Steelback to Reckless, and you see, I think Huni really showed up here.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about this game was the fact that we talked so much about Reckless, we talked so much about him rejoining the team. The fact is, every single member of Fnatic had a great game in yesterday's first opening game of the Summer Split against the Unicorns of Love. It did not look like the Fnatic Unicorns of Love matchup that we saw at the end of the Spring Split.
Yeah, and Fabivan, or who we talked to here, also said, well, we have them figured out now. It took us a split, but we got it, so that is hopeful for them at least. And then the Copenhagen Wolves shutting down SK Gaming in, well, something that I didn't expect that they would shut them down, and this hard, especially maybe from the side from SK Gaming as well.
Yeah, SK Gaming is claiming that it didn't work last split, so they went back to something that worked last year, but you have to realize that everything around you is constantly evolving, and the average level in the European LCS has drastically gone up. SK can't just go back to what used to work, because it will simply not work anymore. Other teams are better at rotations, they're better at macro level gameplay, and to be honest, individually, SK did not impress me yesterday.
Yeah, and individually stressed the Copenhagen Wolves as we were criticizing a couple of them beforehand, but really showing up.
Yeah, really showing up. They got comfort picks in their first game. Honestly, they looked a lot more like a unit than we've seen the Copenhagen Wolves. Didn't fall into some of the same pitfalls where they slowed down in the mid-game. So it was a convincing game, but again, with every single game that was played yesterday, it's the first game of the season. Still, everything can happen in the rest of the 17.
Yeah, lots to learn going into the rest of the split. And then some trends we saw yesterday are particularly one. Sivir, not picked once, not banned once. That is really odd.
Yeah, so before yesterday started, I was watching a lot of Shynet games, and I had the stat line ready. You know, Sivir 16-4. You know, snowballing a lot of these matches there in the LPL, and no picks, no bans, and just didn't happen. And I don't know why, because he's such a good tempo AD carry.
Yeah, but meanwhile, at the same time, a couple of our games, we saw the rise of the reworked Ashe, so I'm not going to go ahead and say that it's going to be in every single game, but Reckless certainly feels it's very strong. Interested to see how Ashe is going to play out today in our games.
Yeah, definitely incredibly strong. Well, you guys at home also took note of yesterday's action and made sure to let us know what you thought was an LCS big play. We got this from @lol objections. That Eddie, sorry, Gosu Pepper, save on Forgiven was so slick. This was your #1 LCS big play.
looks like some action on bot lane.
Wow, this is a 2v2. It's going to be turned into a 2v3. We do see the hyperkinetic position reverser. A good teleport from JWoww is potentially going to set up a kill here. That is a beautiful flash lantern from Gosu-Pepper. He keeps Forgiven alive.
Yeah, there's a couple cool subtleties to that play. Forgiven heals to get the mini speed up, flashes to get the lantern. Then Edward, or Gosu-Pepper now, realizes that if Forgiven lands on a spot where he gets pulled to, he's actually going to die. So he basically uses his own flash to count twice. One for him, one for Forgiven, and they got out there. But I think they went right.
They went back in.
They went back in afterwards, so not worth. But
yeah, Eddie
well,
too good. Yeah.
Good 2v2 play so far from them. I think they're a really good bot lane in isolated in 2v2. But they have a very telegraphed style, right? Forgiven, he brings his SK style back to Gambit, 1-3 roll, nice rotations, but it gets predictable.
Yeah, we'll see if any adaptations come in today. Remember, for you guys at home, send us your OP moments as they happen. Tweet at LL Esports. Use that hashtag LCS. You know the drill. LCS Big Plays, rather. Or LCS for anything else. Now, we'll definitely see the standings change today as we bring you 5 more games, starting with Origen versus H2K in just a few minutes. Then Fnatic will be taking on SK Gaming, and we're going to be closing out the week with Elements versus the Unicorns of Love. A lot of great matchups here today. But before we get into our very first match, we do want to touch base with you guys at home once again. Tweet at LL Esports and let us know which summer split roster change do you think will have the biggest impact and why? Well, panel, negative, positive?
I think one that's still up in the air is, to me, the Elements changes. It's not just one singular change. I guess it's the whole roster change, basically. Still a lot of questions around for them. They had a good showing yesterday. If they can continue that performance throughout the split, maybe we'll see Elements looking for a top-of-the-table finish.
Yeah, they finally got a good support down there, so maybe it can finally happen for Elements. But in terms of impact, and one of the interesting roster changes that I want to track is Candy Panda for SK. So it's one change, one player, but the entire style of the team, everything that Forgiven brought in terms of play style, you know, just macro level play as well as individually in the bot lane, that's gone. SK wants to return back to a totally different form. Is it going to work this split? It's too early to rule them out based off one game because based on one is just nothing yet. But I just want to wait till week 3, week 4 and see if SK style is actually going to work or if they have to adapt to something new and if they can.
Yeah, you definitely have a close eye on that team. It'll be interesting to see how they evolve. Well, remember to tweet at LL Esports and include that hashtag LCS this time around so we can check out some of your answers later today and talk them through right here. For now, though, we're going to go on to our first matchup between two of the LCS's newest teams, fresh out of Challenger, Origen and H2K, and they are only in their second split in the LCS. We're going to start, though, by taking a look at the newbies for Origen on the blue side. It is Soaz Amazing, H2K, Niels Mithy, and their coach, Leduc. Yesterday, well, they had a slow start in their matchup versus Giants, but as they echoed also here on the desk, it was kind of also the reflection of what they were mentally looking at the season. As they started off slow, didn't want to make any mistakes, and are just keeping a clear head.
Yeah, very, very average expectations for them, and I like that. You don't want to get too ahead of yourselves, and it showed in the game playing. Slow, but secure. They knew they were probably the better mid-game team than Giants, so they kept it tight in the early game, waited for the mid-game. They made one slip-up where Pepinero was managed to basically get in behind them and flank, but they learned from that. Peke with a beautiful binding, and the person that stood out the most for me was Miffy.
I would definitely agree with that, which from Challenger, Mithy always looked good. He just never really was kind of the guy that was in every single engage, making sure that Origen came out ahead. Honestly, I feel very similarly to your comments about the SK changes. Week 3, week 4, I think that's where we'll see Origen really get a massive boost in confidence. Once they've learned exactly where they feel like they are against most of the LCS teams, they'll turn things up. They'll start turning up the early game pressure, and once they're confident, we saw it in Challenger. As soon as they know they're the better team, they'll close out games pretty quick.
Yeah, and on the side of strategy picks and bans, nice with that flex pick Morgana, showing that there's also a good background there in terms of strategy. It was only one game, of course. It might just be one thing. Well,
we've only had one game to judge, and it was really good, reminding us of the MSI final where the Morgana into the LeBlanc pick. Pekka played a little differently, but I liked it. I like flex picks a lot because they give you so much versatility, and once you use them once, your opponents are always going to be scared that you might do it in the next rotation, next draft. You know, is this a flex pick? Is this played in one single role? You can fake flex picks almost because people will eventually not know whether your top laner or mid laner can play it as long as you keep the information hidden. And it's really, really good to do in drafting.
Definitely, and it's something that Origen in Challenger, again, I'm going back to all of the games we casted. So many games, it'd be Morgana lock-in, first rotation, and you didn't know, was it Mithy, was it Peke, or even was it Soaz power-wise in the top lane. They ran so many flex picks all the way along the rift, so they certainly have a lot of versatility.
Yeah, definitely good start for them, but now what a test. They are going to be up against H2K in this one. H2K on the red side with Odoamne, Lulex, Ryu, Yarnan, Kasing, and Prowly. Well, playing their hallmark style, the same 10 to 20 minute power spikes that led to success in the entirety of the spring split. And as Kasing also said here, well, we're just listening to Prowly, just doing the same thing. We don't know what they have up their sleeve, but that was promising.
It certainly was promising, and another thing that has been promising over, it feels like the whole of the spring split, but nobody really talked about it, is Odoamne up in that top lane. We focus so much on Kasing, on Prolly, and that effect. Odoamne has quickly become one of the real playmakers on H2K. You look at his game yesterday on 857 damage per minute, the highest of any player so far, and that's an incredible stat for a top laner. He's always getting himself in the mix, and is always active from the top.
Yeah, and 857 damage, that is even more impressive if you know that there was an AP Kog'Maw played by Power of Evil later in the day, because it's also dependent on the champions, and to do that on a Gnar, that is just knocking your socks off. Other people in there, Ryu, who has really come to shine in the playoffs with 8 solo kills. Yesterday he chose for Fizz, and he just had the liberty to actually do what he wanted, but executed it correctly.
Yeah, this roam from Ryu basically shows up in the top lane. Notice that this one melee minion here is still there taking tower shots, so he goes in on Steve. Steve has no flash, so watch what Ryu does. Comes down with the playful tricksters, but carries on that damage with his flash, switches the aggro to Odoamne in the meanwhile, and a really solid execution. And my biggest question here is, how is a Fizz on level 3 to 4 allowed to roam when he's in the Cassiopeia matchup? I wasn't exactly sure, so I talked to some other mid laners. I was like, how does this matchup go? And 1-2-6, Cassiopeia should punish and poke the Fizz. Even if he goes in with E and Q, lands all the damage, it's not enough to kill you. You can counteract that damage so you can put pressure back. At level 6, this matchup swings completely the other way, but I feel Nuktok dropped the ball, and Ryu, I really like that he finds this opening. Yes, he can maybe be happy with getting a few extra CS and having no pressure in lane, but he uses that opening to go top, punish the no flash on Steve there. Beautiful execution.
Yeah, beautiful execution on H2K as a whole as well. Finally, if we take a little closer look at this matchup, H2K is a team with a very defined style that is working extremely well for them, but actually for Origen, they don't set too high of an expectations, and we can't really pinpoint them in terms of style. We know some certain picks and some kind of people that step up to carry here and there, but on the macro level, we don't really know what their game plan is going to be as the season progresses.
And I think a big reason for that is because when you look at a lot of the challenger teams that they have faced over the last split, no challenger team truly has a defined style, and it's very open play. There's a lot of I don't want to say misplays, but when it comes to strategy, it's not always quite as clean cut as in the LCS. So Origen didn't have to develop that style.
Yeah, and you don't always get punished. You get away with a lot of things in the challenger tiers, and you develop these habits. And we'll see how flexible Origen is as a team, because sometimes you'll have to adapt. Some things that work in challengers simply will not work in LCS. And they might even work against the low-level teams, but then once you get against the real dogs like Fnatic, that's when you got to be really flexible or you'll lose.
Yeah, H2K, also a real dog in my book. And for a closer look into the strategy behind H2K, we're going to check in with Quickshot, and he's standing by with their coach, Prolly.
Thank you very much, guys. I am joined here by Prolly, coach of the spring split, I might add. No pressure there, buddy, on the summer split. Let's start off by talking about how strong you guys were yesterday. Came out the gate swinging against Roccat. Let's briefly talk about how you felt that game went, as well as what your opinion is on the LCS teams after one day of games.
So that game, the first 10 minutes was actually really uncharacteristic of us. I thought the team was just kind of getting more used to the stage, and then the level 1 debacle with bot lane kind of snowballed. So definitely the first 10 minutes were really weird for us. We hadn't really played that style of game, so it's definitely a new thing we got to look at and kind of revamp, what happens if this happens again, guys. But after that, I think we had a really good mid and late game. Everything kind of went the way it was supposed to in scrims. And the reason why it was surprising to see this was because in scrims, we never did anything like this correctly. This was all kind of taught and shown in scrims with replays. But when we actually came to LCS, they actually did it correctly, when in scrims, the game's always thrown by doing something funny. So they always stress me out during scrims, but it's always relieving to see them play LCS.
Well, very nicely done. Congratulations on the victory there. Let's talk about the team. You've talked about scrims and training mentality and techniques. It worked on stage, didn't all fair. Something else that H2K had a problem with was adapting to the Cinder Hulk meta. It's been quite a while since those changes came into place. How do you feel your team is performing now in the current state of the game?
Well, the Cinder Hulk changes were a big blow to us because, yeah, 1, we were slow to it, and 2, it was a really big buff to Cinder Hulk players. So it was a meta shift in a really big way. And currently the meta is shifting kind of slowly. I think almost one role at a time it's shifting. So I think right now for us, it's really important to find kind of like our team meta, what we do best. And if another team kind of finds a model that we can follow, then we might take parts of that. But realistically, it's more of finding out the fundamentals that make our team work and kind of build off of that.
Well, fair play. It's fundamentals that got you the 3rd place in the spring split. I want to talk about the team you are about to face right now, Origen on the opposite side. Straight out of Challenger Series, how do you approach a team that is relatively fresh to the LCS stage, despite knowing the players for an exceptional amount of time?
Well, I think not being able to play at an LCS, like the LCS caliber teams, I think is really hard for a Challenger team to get, because there's certain game aspects that you don't really learn. Kind of like ending the game correctly is really hard for a Challenger team to learn, because it's almost impossible to find it in scrims. No one will play like they do on stage in scrims. So them jumping back into the LCS scene, I think they are going to be a little rough towards the late game. And I think a really safe game plan going into this game would be, play safe laning phase and go to mid-late and just beat them strategically. But I really don't want to approach it that way. I really want to approach it like we need to take this game from the beginning to the end. So I really didn't stretch any caution to the players, and I really want them to go out and show how strong our early game has gotten and kind of take the game from there.
Well, thank you so much. You've heard it from Prolly first. Go ham in the laning phase. You can join your team for picks and bans and pass on that note once again. Thank you, Prolly. Now, as we go to the casters to take us into game 1 here of day 2, we actually sat down to hear from Kasing and how he was turning heads before his inaugural split with the H2K.
I remember playing against Kasing before he was in Gamers 2 before he joined H2K, and I was telling my team, this guy is really good, and I kept telling them. And then when he joined H2K, I was like just asking myself, wow, this guy, how can he change a team so much? And so yeah, I definitely have a lot of respect for all of them, and especially Kasing.
Hello everybody, I'm Devin Pyrotechnics Young, and of course I am joined by my color caster and part-time bard enthusiast, Krepo Vorschbils. How's it going, Mitch?
Great to be here.
Good to have you, man, and a nice quick running over here. We're about to get ready into this first game, H2K versus Origen. It's going to be a big test for both these squads, I think.
Yeah, I think Origen has less to lose in this matchup, personally. So H2K pretty much have to win as Origen, the underdogs. Both played a really slow style usually. H2K known for the slow style. Yesterday, okay, they had a little quicker pace, those dives on Steve on the top lane. Origen, very tempered, but I think they need to turn it up a notch if they want to challenge H2K.
Yeah, I think they definitely have to, and they can't afford to make the same mistakes they made against Giants. H2K just won't allow them to get away with that kind of thing. And now we load up into Champ Select. Let's see where we begin. Origen starts the day off by banning Ashe.
Yeah, they must have not played it much themselves, or just think they can, if they go back to the old meta picks in the bot lane, they can just straight up win 2v2 or in the lane swap. Maybe they just really hate arrows. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe they just hate champions to start with A. Alistar is also taken off the board. This time it's by H2K. See what Origen answers back with.
Yeah, let's see if we see an Akali ban here and then confirm your tier. Nope, Rek'Sai gets banned out. Really, really potent
there
jungler.
goes my theory.
This might lead to a possible Gragas pickup early for Origen. I think we rate Rek'Sai and Gragas basically the tier 1 junglers. Sejuani, less preference recently, and a lot of people actually want Evelynn over her, so let's see how that evolves.
Yeah, that has been really curious. And so with the Rek'Sai off the board, the Kalista is also taken away. So some power picks in several of these roles, but I'm curious to see what they prioritize. Origen, come back around to them.
Urgot's open, Cassiopeia is open, Azir is open, so we can still... The third ban on purple side is something I always really watch out for, because that spells out how both teams kind of have and will play the champ select, so let's see how that turns out.
Yeah, that will be the key thing. Thresh is now the ban. They've chosen not to let Kasing have that. So H2K has one more to go.
I talked to Miffy, and he really rated Thresh and Alistar very highly. So both of these champions are out, so we're going a tier lower on the support list, and that might actually open up Bard.
Well, with the Urgot banned away, we may possibly see it. I think the Morgana might be very popular too, because, well, it's been shown to be a very popular flex pick. So far, Gragas looks to be the first pickup, and it is Origen that take that one for Amazing.
Yeah, I wonder what H2K is going to answer it. Lulek's a very good game yesterday on Rek'Sai. Valued it over Gragas, actually, if I recall correctly. So both Rek'Sai, Gragas out. That leaves Sejuani and Evelynn as junglers left. Not really sure what Lulex is going to pick out of both. Sejuani is a little slower. You can get punished early. Yesterday we saw Elements play Sejuani and got to level 6 for free, and you see how devastating that can be. On the other hand, we've seen in the past Sejuanis get punished really hard, and then it can get a little rough.
It's all about how you execute it too. And knowing H2K, their profile, of course, they always want to go for getting ahead in the game and starting these fights and skirmishes off 10 to 20 minutes in. We can expect their compositions to go that way, but you know, I don't think he's really worried about this game. He seems a little calm, a little laid back, if you will.
Yeah, or didn't get enough sleep because he was obviously preparing out. And I really like this. I really like the Sivir pickup with Urgot and Kalista out of the equation. Ash gone too. I really like the Sivir Maokai. This gives you so much flexibility in champs. Like this could mean, you know, a Storm the front all in with a Sivir ulti, basically dive-in composition. But you can still do anything. You can lane swap with Sivir. You can lane 2v2 in certain matchups. So definitely interesting to see what Origen is going to reply with.
Yeah, that will be curious indeed. They'll have to be able to break through the front line, whatever it is. That is Origen, I mean, since H2K, yeah. I feel like they can go a lot of different ways, but I would expect that run at you kind of composition if they can pull it off. Origen now looking to get a little bit more firepower on their hands if they do lock this one in. Looking for the Annie and the LeBlanc. And we got one, we got the other.
So yeah, I've always been talking about Azir and Cassiopeia being like this duo top-tier mid picks, but it seems a lot of the European mid laners value LeBlanc in there, if not over both champions.
It's blind pick too.
Yeah, blind pick LeBlanc. She does well in a lot of matchups, but let's see what Rio answers with. Rio has played Ahri into LeBlanc in the past too, so could be an option.
He has indeed. Cycling through quite a lot right now. So he waits on his time. He doesn't have to pick it right now either, importantly. If he does want to go for that Morgana counter pick, he would probably still be fine to wait on it since the Annie's already been locked in, but I feel like that's not necessarily a Rio champion.
Yeah, not necessarily it says Rio to you, but they could flex a Morg here, pick something else, and then leave it up in the air where it goes mid and support. Not necessarily the best choice. Miffy going here for Annie. We haven't seen too much of Annie, but I like Annie against the top tier 2 mids that I was talking about. I like Annie against Cassiopeia. Flash Tibbers can shut her down. Immediate follow-up from Gragas can be really devastating. In addition on the Azir as well. That might prompt Ryu to pick something else.
Yeah, well he will wait till his last pick to go ahead and take that one. They lock in the Evelynn as another Evelynn pickup here in the Summer Split. And a Janna. I actually really like this in H2K's composition.
I'm actually going to disagree with you. I feel when you play Sivir and you send in everybody forward, right? Everybody's storming in the front. Sivir is really good at dealing with carries on her own. She survives on her own pretty well because she has spell sheets, she has all this crazy mobility. You generally don't want to peel for a Sivir too much. You just let her use Boomerang Blades, Bouncing Blades in the fight, the AoE, she runs around, and then you can use your support as an offensive tool. This is like a mismatch, you know, Maokai's going in, Evelyn's going in, but Janna's going back and peeling.
Oh, you mean with the Janna?
Yeah, for a Sivir, and I'm not sure if I like that too much. I do like the Evelynn.
I was talking about the Evelynn, yes, but I think you're right. The Janna's a little bit weird.
Doesn't
maybe
really
they just
work
want
out.
more lane sustained?
Yeah, maybe they're playing for a secure lane. Maybe they don't have any other answers for Annie left, you know, since both Alistar and Thresh are out. But in terms of composition, I want to see how this plays out.
Well, we'll see how Origins plays out. We've got a Vayne lock-in, it looks like, as well as a Rumble. So Origin's comp is completed. This
not yet.
Interesting.
They're still deciding.
Wait a minute.
They're still deciding.
Oh, it got reset. Okay.
I'm not sure if they're going for this Vayne. Vayne is actually decent in the Sivir because she can tumble out of the Boomerang Blade and return some damage, and the triple Silver Bolts proc doesn't really get spell shielded, so Vayne has a way of doing a lot of damage on Sivir, but she's very short range into a Maokai, and yeah, Evelynn can basically catch up to her. However, there's no support catch potential here, so that might actually prompt Niels to actually lock in this Vayne.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking the time about it, so thinking if that's what they want to go into. Wait for that one to count down. Looks like we're popping out for just a second. Slight technical issues, so just looking at what we have so far. We'll just speculate on that, because assuming Origen does lock that in, how does that fit into the rest of their comp? You talked about it a little bit, but expound on it a little bit for me.
I think what we see here again is that if I remember correctly, Origen was playing only one tank yesterday. Again, they really want Soaz on these carries. Soaz going for Rumble here. I think he played the same champion yesterday. It's a little hard to play sometimes. We've seen a lot of teams go for these double tank compositions because it's just so easy to play, so straightforward, really good for controlling objectives. And we saw one tank composition punished yesterday. If we recall Rocket, they had Jankos and I believe Gragas. Enemy team basically, there was H2K actually, focused them down over and over and over in fights and then switched to the other targets. And it's going to get rough for Origen. At the other hand, they have a lot of damage though.
They do have a lot of damage, and if they can get catches on H2K, it can be really, really rough for that team. Now, quick catch-up with you guys, just in case you're wondering what's happening. There was a little bit of an issue with champs, like Singh was unable to lock in his last champion, so we will pick back up from where that point was. All the same picks should be the same up until then, but we'll redo that last portion of it. So,
yeah, we'll definitely see.
Still have a very similar composition, but the Vayne, not a guaranteed lock-in.
Yeah, I actually take a step back there and look at the Janna pick again, and I want to reiterate that it's going to be interesting to look at it. H2K's composition so far is safe. You know, Maokai is very tanky. They have a lot of mobility from Sivir. They don't have the most hard CC, so Maokai will have to be the one engaging, or Evelyn will have to get around the enemies and get a good flying, because there's no engage component on the support for H2K, whereas Origen has that anti-flash tibbers they can use. So it's going to get rough for H2K to engage, especially with Maokai being so binary, you know, all in or flank.
Yeah, well, it looks like H2K's comp is pretty set up to be that way, with the exception of the Janna. Now, a little bit of extra information. Again, it's going to be the exact same picks for Origen and all the way up to Kasing for H2K. So since he didn't have his final lock-in, we go all the way to that. So yeah, everything's just about the same. We'll see what H2K do choose as their pickup for Ryu. But yeah, Origen's composition. This is interesting because I feel like they have a lot of like miniature power spikes in the beginning and in the late, but a lot of it comes together in the middle of the game. And if they don't hit that, if they don't utilize that to try and contest objectives, which is where H2K is typically a very strong team, historically, that could be troublesome for them. And, well, we'll see H2K pick up some scaling of their own in the castle.
Yeah, a lot of damage, not so much peel though. The only peel here really is Gragas's explosive cask. And then Vayne has to basically take care of herself against a massive, basically Zerg comp from H2K. Again, they may be able to survive since Janna doesn't offer too much offensive threat, and that might be why Neil's locked in that Vayne. But a lot of damage coming out of Origen right here. You know, if Rumble lands his combo, LeBlanc lands her chains, and meanwhile Vayne is proccing silver bolts left and right, this could mean disaster for H2K if they don't take smart fights.
And you mentioned the LeBlanc for Origen. I'm really curious to see how this matchup in the mid lane will go, especially because if you were to go back a year, 2 years ago, if you had said Peke and Ryu going up against each other was in a matchup, that would instantly be the feature highlight. That would be what everyone would be looking towards. I want to see if both these guys still got it. We've seen Ryu stepping up a lot more. We saw that a lot in the playoffs, a number of solo kills, and of course, everybody knows Peke. Everybody knows what he's capable of. I want to see how this matchup goes in the mid. But I know you want to talk a little bit about the bot lane.
Yeah, but I want to reiterate on your point, one short sentence here. I do know that you will never rule out X-Peke again, because I did that once. I did it before Worlds. I was like, yeah, X-Peke, he's all right, you know, but he isn't his former self. And then he showed up to basically destroy some mid lanes in that World Championship. Yeah, and it was fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, you've heard from us. What do you guys think? Do you think Origen's going to take this one or H2K? You know what to do. At LOL Esports is the handle. Hashtag OG win or H2K win. And we are starting up on the Rift.
But you were right, though. I really like these two bot lanes because I respect Kasing and Miffy as supports a lot, because they're both really strong in lane as well as out of lane. It's going to be interesting if they choose to go for the 2v2. I think both lanes have something that speaks for 2v2 and against it. You kind of don't want to let the Vayne free farming. At the same time, it's double range against double range, and that's always an interesting matchup to see, because it's less all-in heavy, it's more poke heavy.
Absolutely. We'll see how this game starts off the board. So, everything looks relatively normal. Line of scrimmage to start things off. So no shenanigans for either of those teams just yet. Ryu does take a little bit of damage from Mithy. So we have a little bit of switch around there. Mithy's subbing in middle for a second for X-Peke, who's waiting in this brush for Kasing.
Let's see if he takes some damage there.
Fnatic Janna versus Peke.
Oh, tribute to the king.
Yeah. There we go.
I think that shield was late.
Just a little bit.
He took the damage. Sports at 4 portion. Who cares anyways?
Man, it's all about forcing little edges.
Little edges, indeed.
Damage adds up, Crepo.
Yeah, it does indeed. That's true. Looking at jungle pick for amazing here, Gragas, we've seen some Gragas players get creative with their roots. Either clear one side, 3 camps, 2 camps, and then get a nice little cheesy early gank on one of the sides of mid lane on top lane. Let's see if Amazing goes for that. Or go for this full clear. Or, third option, he wants to punish perhaps Lulex in jungle, because Evelyn goes pretty low on first clear.
And, you know, early on in the game, the very first clear, that's like when you can usually predict where jungle is going to be going. They've also got a couple of deep wards. You see Origen popping down one over by the red side, or the red buff, rather, of H2K. And since nobody's going to be there, they know what side of the map Evelyn's starting on.
Yeah, and it looks like the lane swap is predicted here. I don't know who initiated it or who called it, but both teams are heading up in the top lane. No camps. I really like watching laning phases like this without camps. This should give the push advantage to Sivir, though. There's no way Annie and Vayne can clear that without a camp. They basically want to poke back and let the lane push back as far as they can, because if they challenge the push, they will only get in more troubles later. I almost feel like Hjarn's over-pushing a little bit. I think Niels is happy with this.
Yeah, I think Niels will definitely be happy with the way this has started. He also was able to get a little bit of damage onto Yarnan to start this one off. It's just going to be so hard to push against the Sivir in general, especially sped up by a Janna. Mythy steps forward. He takes a whole heaping helping of damage. He should be okay for now. He's just nibbling away at the biscuits.
Yeah, trading damage on... Ooh, that's a good trade. Trading damage on support, on the AD carry, and taking damage on support is definitely what you want. You know, support has way more sustain than an enemy AD carry. The lane's pushing in here. Niels we'll have to see how well Niels farms under tower, because you're always playing under pressure, right? But we'll see how this turns out later. Let's take an eye and see how the rest of the map is going.
Yeah, so while this one gets a little bit more normal, we'll set it up in the mid lane where FLICKR and Rio have already been trying to duke each other out here. Level 3 for FLICKR. He's pushing a wave into Rio, and you know, this is going to be the rough start for Cassidy. He's always going to have a little bit more trouble to start things off, but he is still keeping up with the damage. Amazing. Looking around the side, see if he stops to clear Crab. It looks like he will. And of course, Lulex is on his back right now, so no jungle help going to come to this mid lane just yet. The bottom lane continues to be a wet noodle fight.
Yeah, you see Amazing there, very healthy after clearing his jungle and the Crab, and he can immediately move in, whereas Lulex on Evelyn was forced to base and come back in. If Amazing reads this properly, he might be able to spot Lulex in the jungle or go for a dive here.
Looks like that might be chosen strat. FLICKR waits, there it goes! It's gonna be Ryu forced to burn his flash. Ignite taking away his health, but he should stay alive through that one.
I think the body slam missed by an inch, the damage didn't carry over, and otherwise Ryu would have been dead. This was really, really close, guys.
And you know, it was really nice bait too from FLICKR. He backs away, and it just, oh no, it's okay, nothing's really happening at all. And he doesn't really vary his style much to do it. He just backed away as if he was done and he was going to head to base. Now Lulex has found Amazing.
Yeah. He has the information. Amazing has no idea that his spot. He sees the warfare. This is really big. Now Amazing knows that every action was happening with the knowledge of H2K. So that means however people reacted, that was with, they knew where he was. But in the bot lane, so was turning on the Flame Sweeper.
Yep, he does turn that one on. As everybody who's played Pokemon knows, fire is strong against grass.
Yes.
So are towers apparently. That one, I don't expect too much action to happen down there for a while until the teams really want to start looking at Dragon, but since we have the dual lane swap happening, I think it probably is going to take a while before that happens. We'll see. Teleport spent down to the bottom. Odoamne gets back to base after picking up another Doran's. Lulex now on a roam upriver. Take a look at what they do together, but also let's take a look back to mid because there is a massive CS differential. We said Kasten has a rough laning phase, and FLICKR is making it rougher.
Yeah, while the gank wasn't successful, it did mean a lot of pressure on Ryu here, but Lulex, he's hiding in the bush. Will Niels spot that in time? I don't think so.
They're trying to make it look very easy for Niels to push forward, but I think he knows something's up. He's going to check really close to Lulex. Mithy's the one who does it. Hate spikes flying. The Kadem against the wall will stop the Evelyn for the time being as Niels returns fire onto Kasing.
Yeah, and this is where it all becomes really rough. You don't want to change like the pattern you have been laning in so far, because if you suddenly start playing differently, good players will obviously smell the gank. That's why H2K was leaning back a lot, but that results then when Miffy checks a brush, not too much damage goes on to Kasing here.
Yeah. Speaking of smelling the gank, Ryu knows exactly what's up. He saw Amazing in the
gets stunned.
Arden, he's stunned up. Spell Shield comes in too late. He has to flash his Ignite. Meanwhile, back to the middle. Ryu, oh so low. He finally burns down. It's Amazing who gets the kill and barely gets out alive. Body slam back to tower.
Yeah, really, really good aggression here from OG. They managed to stun Yarnan there before his spell shit pops, get the ignite up before the heal, reduces, forces the flash in turn, and now they can push in this lane. And Niels, while he was down in CS earlier, he will deny so many creeps here, and this is really crucial. Origen is playing this very, very well.
They are indeed. Now Odoamne looks to check in onto Soaz. Doesn't really find too much damage. Lulex inbound as well to help Odoamne out. Soaz got to know something's up now, and they're looking for a revenge kill after the first blood. Flash for Flash, but Lulex wasn't on the same page. He is now. He goes in, and he picks up the kill while Odoamne tanks the tower.
And I think this is definitely the right lane for Odoamne, for Lulex to gank rather. Having the Twisted Advance on Maokai allows you to actually lock a target down. However, when we saw earlier, he was ganking a double range lane without any hearts to see on his side, and we talked about it earlier, Pyra, in Champs. Like, Janna doesn't have much engage potential, right? And that really didn't work out. But let's see that mid lane ganking now. Good chain from FLICKR. No more flash on Ryu. Body slam and the barrel, and then yeah, he just drops dead.
Slowly, slowly fading away. His pickup in the mid lane, and we might see part 2 in just a moment. FLICKR backs away, avoids the Force Pulse.
Too bad you can't avoid the Force Pulse.
Nah. Not when he's right next to you.
Exactly.
Amazing and Mythy now.
They've swapped the lanes back up.
Right. Yeah. This is, I feel like this is just to get the dragon control back in their favor. And they're saying that they're confident SOAS can keep Yarnin off this tower. Look at the damage from that Flame Spitter. Yarnin had no mana to really return fire on that.
Yeah, he has no summoners either, so he has to be very careful. Origen is playing this real. Their resource memory is really good, but here's Odawana.
Yep, he zooms on in. Beeline towards Mythy, amazing now having to body slam away, but now Niels is here, and H2K are turning and running. Yarnin, meanwhile, is burning away as SOAS outplays him in the 1v1. H2K in full retreat as Peke jumps over the wall. They decide to turn their attention to blue. Origen, they're doing everything right all across the map.
Yeah, we said this earlier in the pregame. We want Origen to be more aggressive. If they play the same passive style, H2K from the 10 to 20 minute mark, they'll get ahead. But Origen, they got their foot on the gas pedal, and they're so far ahead already.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. It all started with a big equalizer, and SOAS kept on chasing.
Yeah, I just saw a play, and this reiterates that at the highest level, kills are often a two-step process. One, forcing the gank and the pressure to blow the summers, and then returning to finish your job. Amazing did it first. Got rid of Rio's flash in the middle lane, came around again, killed him. On the top lane, Niels and Mythy with a really good stun on Yarnin forced the flash and the summoner, and SOAS, because we're tracking cooldowns on the highest level here, he knew that, turned on the equalizer and basically just roasted Yarnin.
Absolutely. Completely cooked him alive, and speaking of cooking alive, Ryu is starting to feel the heat from Peke. Seriously down in this match in CS, 25 separating these two, and it's been a lot of jungle pressure. Ryu has still not picked up a catalyst.
Yeah, he's very far behind. At the same time, Yarnin was forced to go for pickaxe as well. In a Vayne matchup, that's exactly what you want as a Vayne. You don't want to let the enemy AD carry get a B of sword, because you have this weird Cutlass build that gives you a lot of lifesteal and attack speed, but doesn't give you much raw damage. So in terms of one auto attack trades, you lose out a lot if the enemy has BF. But if it's just a pickaxe, you can sustain it up. We saw that yesterday as well in a Rocket matchup where Woolite had his pickaxe and he was facing a Vamp Scepter on the other side, and he couldn't widen the gap anymore. And this is really good for Origen's bot lane right now.
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic. And you know, we talk about H2K and what they do from 10 to 20 minutes, but Origen's not keen on letting it be an even playing field by the time it gets to that point. We're not quite at that 10-minute mark. Mythy now roaming down to the bottom side. He's spotted by Odawana, who's a little slow to react, but that is because Yarnin on the hunt, coming on in, and now Odawana chases in, throws down the Twisted Advance, and the Maelstrom. They're looking for Mythy, but it stuns up. Yarnin will find it with a Boomerang, and Niels all by himself. The hate spikes were flying, the poison was ticking, wasn't quite enough, and Lulex goes down, courtesy of the tower.
This is the third time I've seen H2K be a little hesitant on following up on each other. They didn't know Lulex was going for the dive. If we go back to the Rio play yesterday, Odawana was a little hesitant. Go back to earlier when they killed Rumble as well. Odawana was a little hesitant there as well. H2K is not fully in sync yet.
Oh, they are not. Origen, on the other hand, fully working like a well-oiled machine. 10.5 minutes on the clock. They've already amassed themselves their first dragon and a few hundred gold in the lead. Not too shabby.
Gold lead went down to 500 from 1,000 earlier. But SOAS is looking for a little gank here. Peke is warming up. Odawana spots it though.
He knows exactly what's up.
I don't think he knows.
Now he does.
Yeah.
There's the sapling. Who face checks.
Brave sacrifice.
It is important to remember the sacrifices of the saplings.
Indeed it is.
And the scuttle crabs.
And the scuttle crabs.
That's a story for another
Poor
time.
scuttle crabs. All right. So the bot lane's pushing out. Amazing coming in. He's going to spot that pink ward, clear it. So that's good for pressure. They want to find Lulex. Origen wants to know where Evelyn is, and then they can make calculated plays. Some aggression going on in the mid lane. Basic trade. Peke taking the better of that one.
Looked for a moment like it wasn't going to go that way, but Peke has consistently been on the up and up versus Rio. Lulex now going to find amazing over by the blue. Wow. Now that's one game of chicken.
Yeah, but the chicken's invisible, so Amazing's losing out on information here.
Going to go back in for a little bit more, see if he can find something. The Gromp started up by Yarnin and Kasing. They back away as the ward goes down. So now he's just trying to heckle H2K's bot lane as Niels and Mythy continue to push up.
Yeah, level 6 on Mythy. He has Tibbers prompted and ready. A good spell shield will be needed, or otherwise it's going to get real ugly.
It's 3v3, but Origen don't quite know it yet. Tower, however, going very, very low. The mini-wave is going to be cleared out. Kasing helps push Niels back, and they will take the safe play. For now, Ryu, not quite too much damage on it, but Peke goes back in for round number 2. Lands the chains, but there's the Rift Walk.
See, but you say they don't know it, but it's likely to expect that Lulex is going to be hovering around that bot lane, because Amazing spent a lot of time there. Top lane's really not gankable. Mid lane's really hard to gank, so it's very likely that Evelyn's are down in the bot lane.
Right, and you know, when you've played as many games as these guys, you've got to have that game sense available to know when that's happening. These guys definitely have now a teleport for Soaz. Lulex is going to spot that one up. As Amazing throws out the big barrel. They were looking for Yarnin, but he threw down the spell shield and equalizer. Massive damage as well. They found it. The Monsoon will keep Lulex alive. Just barely, but Niels finds one. Can he do another? Condemn against the wall. Here's Soaz. Double kill. Soaz looking for more. Turns tail and runs. However, as the tower was there, they forsook him, and it was a 2-for-1.
And this is why I think Miffy is such a good player. Really clutch two-man Tibbers, basically securing the kills for Origen here, and then a little bit too deep under the tier 2 tower. But you know, that happens.
That's okay. Sometimes you can get a little bit too aggro. So in the end, they trade 2-4-1. Origen now, decent job in the bottom. Yes, and importantly, the tower.
They're definitely sitting on one tower here, one dragon against H2K's one tower, 0 dragons. They have a 2,000 gold lead here, and they're scaling into the mid game. And you mentioned it earlier. They definitely want to spike and get a lot of, make use of how much damage they have in the mid game and see if they can translate that in objectives. Let's see again. Lulex knows the TP is coming. He's basically hovering in between Gragas and Rumble to not get spotted. Kjarn, good spell shield. Kasing's going out. They can't disengage, and look at that Tibbers. Soaz basically burning them alive. Kasing turns around Rumble with his ultimate, but it's not enough.
Yeah, honestly, that Monsoon is pretty much the only reason that wasn't a triple kill for Vayne right there.
Yeah, I think the Monsoon could have been a little earlier. Ryu picks up a kill, and that's pretty good for H2K then, though. If you want to kill on one person on H2K, it is definitely on Kassin. He is the carry of this team. Sivir is a utility AD carry. Maokai, Peel, tank, engaged. Definitely all the damage in the late game fights is coming from Ryu.
Yeah, I mean, anything I can get for him is great, because at this point he's still behind 45 CS. Peke has just been giving him a hell of a time this game. They'll finally grab a little bit more back, but now Origen can turn their full attention to this mid lane.
And yeah, while I was always praising Miffy for being such a good laner back in the day when I was playing against him in the LCS, right now, he's just playing, he's roaming so much. He hasn't been in lane at all. He's showing up left and right and basically facilitating the engage and making sure Lulex can't get into that river like he wants to.
Speaking of the river, Soaz and Peke are coming from that. They target Kasing, half his health is gone. Meanwhile, rest of Origen over at the Dragon, they've got Scuttle Crab Shrine, and it is an easy take for them. But H2K are pushing on the top in response.
Yeah, every time we talk about this, objective gets taken on one side of the map, you want to look for what they call the cross-map objective, but H2K might not be in time because they're getting greedy. They want the tower and the blue buff.
Yeah, they do. They've left Odoamne to just push this one, but the rest of Origen should be able to come back and push him off in time. Ryu secures that blue buff. Lulex is there as well, but they don't have enough firepower to polish it off. So in the end, Origen come out ahead here. They've got themselves 2,000 gold in the lead.
They did steal a Bonk's blue buff, and that might give him Ryu just that little bit of breathing room he needs to get into the mid to late game.
But Origen are already here on the other blue buff side. Amazing has started this one off. The thing is, can Peke really get there in time if Ryu wants to contest this? I don't think they really know this is happening just yet because they're not making moves for it.
Yeah, if the buff resets a couple of times, then Peke can pick it up.
There you
Good
go.
guy, Amazing.
Just
using those game mechanics to stall it out.
So in the end, they trade that one. Yeah, Origen really not giving much up for what they're taking here. H2K aren't incredibly behind, but this is traditionally the point of the game when they're at their strongest. And right now, they're barely keeping even.
Let's give it a couple more minutes. H2K usually spikes from 15 to 20 minutes pretty hard as well. We've been tracking those stats. It'll be rough because there's a lot of pressure coming out of Origen. They only have one tank, remember. If one fight goes badly, it can go badly really quickly, especially with Sivir being, you know, providing so much speed.
See what they do here. Again, mid lane focus can be where they go after this because Kasing and Yarnin are hell-bent on pushing in this bottom tower. They've got a decent-sized minion wave at their backs. Odoamne continuing to keep it pushing for H2K on the top as well. That will allow H2K to then direct their attention towards the mid, but they're pinging for help already. They know that tower's days are numbered.
Yeah, just some deep vision coming in from Miffy here. They basically want to surround the mid lane with vision on both flanks so they can safely push in this tower. Getting this tower will mean a lot for Origen because it will open up the map and allow them to roam and make more picks.
Secure it up, no problem. Meanwhile, up in the top, Odoamne's going to flash, but he's still stunned up by Miffy. Niels chasing him down, and he should be able to secure it as Amazing had him locked up. Meanwhile, back to the mid, Peke goes in, Lulex goes down, but so does Peke. There were way too many members of H2K there.
Yeah, and going back on that top lane play, really smart by Miffy. He sends out the anti-Q that will follow its target regardless whether it flashes or not, and then land a stun. If you tibbers, it can get dodged. If you use a W, it can get dodged. But if you just wait for the Q to connect, then you can guarantee the CC, but they're going out of mid lane.
Speaking of tibbers, Yarnin, the rest of the team took a lot of it. Spell Shield will keep him alive for a few more moments, but Soaz is still able to burn him down.
Poor Yarnin, his flash is almost up. He could have maybe escaped that if he had his flash, but good cooldown tracking and good aggression from Origen. I said this before, I really want him to get more aggressive against the H2K. Don't play that slow passive style, and they're doing it perfectly so far.
And counter-aggressive too. They knew that H2K was going to push after they took FLICKR down in that mid. They were very prompt to react to it. So far, yes, they've given up a couple of towers. That one on the bottom really didn't matter too much for them because now they have a bit of a free farm lane. FLICKR is going to be able to clean that one up.
Origen just picking up some CS here. H2K basically all base. They're coming out of the base, seeing what they're going to do on the map. Yeah, it's getting rough. So much pressure coming out of Origen.
You know, the longer the game goes on, though, for H2K, in the mid lane especially, Ryu will start to look better and better, and FLICKR will start to be a little bit less relevant, but there's still a long time before that happens, and as you mentioned, they really only have one true tank, so FLICKR just can continue to try and pick people off, and it'll get pretty scary for a while for H2K. I feel like they have to, while they are playing well and aggressive, they have to respect that.
Yeah, they have to be really scared for a lot of picks. At the same time, Niels is farming up a Storm. 157 CS, 4 kills. Blade of the Ruined King, Zeal, Boots. And yeah, Cloak finished already. He's going to be so strong so quickly.
It's not something Yarnin will be able to match very well at all. They really need a wombo combo to try and take that. But again, if they check too heavy into Origen, there's always that threat of the tibbers. And then it has been, as we've seen, Niels just cleaning house.
Yeah, a lot of threats on Origen. The Rumble. Look at Soaz. He always has Leandris finished with the Sword Shoes. He does a lot of damage. Niels does a lot of damage. FLICKR does a lot of damage. Even Miffy does a lot of damage for support. Yeah. Damage everywhere.
Yeah, tower goes down. There's an equalizer. Lulex is going to have to move away, and FLICKR has him in his sights. Can he pick him off? The wild chase through the jungle commences. The hate spikes will do nothing to FLICKR. As after the chains hit, it was all over.
Yeah, and they see Cassin on the bot line, desperate for some farm, but it leaves the rest of the map in a 4v5 and very little engage. And Origen has the freedom to play around because it's hard for H2K to catch Origen. The only person that can really do it is Oruwamne, or they can group up with the Sivir. But in a man-down situation, Origen has the freedom to basically make enemies jungle their own.
Exactly what they're doing. They utilize that jungle path to make moves towards the mid lane. Already tower half the health down. They know Caston's in the area. They're trying to get out of there. There is the on the hunt. Oruwamne, the chains do not connect on him from FLICKR, but the explosive cast will push them back. And now up in the top, Niels continues the work, and they just keep haranguing this H2K squad.
A good disengage. Ryu trying to get the slow on FLICKR, but he goes back in.
Wow, all right. Not sure if that was the best decision FLICKR has made today, but I don't think H2K really expected it. Meanwhile, Oruwamne now targeted down. The tower is still doing some work, but Oda will finally evaporate. Niels jumped on by Lulex. Does he have the damage? Condemned against the wall? Yes, he does! Niels is unstoppable, and he gets some help from Mithy, while Soaz is chasing Ryu back. This tower should be gone.
Going down too.
So is Yarnin. Goodbye. Good night.
Fantastic kiting by Niels. He basically almost gets caught there, but he says, nope, the JPEG. He tumbles out, condemns into the wall, and basically kills them one by one because there's not enough damage on H2K's side.
And they just high-fived themselves into death. So now 4 members down. Origen are able to take that tower quite easily back. They can spend their gold. Speaking of, look at that difference, Crepo.
7,000 gold all of a sudden. Origen is basically, their foot's on the gas pedal right now.
Absolutely. It's just insane what they've been able to do. Let's take a look at this. You're right.
They're going on Niels, he takes some damage, he's tanking. Tumbles upwards away from enemies. His only escape path is left now. Flashes out, Luix flashes after him. Tumbles for an angle on the Condemn, gets him into the wall, and Kasing just doesn't have the damage to follow up. He's not an Annie player. Double stun by Miffy, really vital there too. Keeping Kasing busy. Niels lifesteals up with that Blaze of the Ruined King. Fantastic play.
And then Yarn just should never have been there at that point. So it was all over. So Origen, they go back, they spend that massive amount of gold they've got. They're setting up for Dragon here. Look at that difference between the mid laners. I wanted to touch on it once again because Ryu has just been effectively gimped on items this game. Now FLICKR in some trouble, but he's still LeBlanc. He should be able to get out. And now Niels is in. Oh, they just want to go for it.
He's confident.
Coming in from Soaz. They won't even need him right now as the rest of the team is there. 1, 2, and 3. They peel the bark off the tree and they can take Dragon for free.
Yeah, and this is why I love FLICKR as a player. He's getting chased by 2 players, right? And then he spots Evelyn, and instead of distorting out again, he says, nah, I'm just gonna chain you and walk away. He goes aggressive while being defensive, and that's the mark of a fantastic player like FLICKR. He doesn't just want to get out of there, he wants to trade efficient damage in the meanwhile, and this allows Niels to come in, so as with the teleport, and they clean up a fight where the other teams may have just ran.
Fantastic player and a fantastic score. 5-1-2 on the LeBlanc, 5-0-6 for the Vayne. And what does H2K have right now? A 1-1 Kasten that has been starved for gold this entire game. It is not looking good for this team.
Yeah, you can say that much. I really wouldn't want to be in H2K's position right now. 16-4, 3 dragons, the makings of really good vision to bait the Baron, potentially just do the Baron. Origen in the driver's seat.
A lot of people ask the question, you know, Origen, they look really great on paper. They blazed through the Challenger Series last split, but they really were not tested so much. I feel like this game, in theory, was the test, but look at that goal difference versus time. Look at what they've done this game. It feels like they're still cruising at a speed that they control.
Yeah, they're definitely snowballing this game. And something I've noticed a lot about some of these players, they adapt to the level of their opponents. Miffy, you know, you meet him sometimes in solo queue, he doesn't take it all too serious, but once you face him against an actually really good support laner, good AD carry, he adapts to that level and he transcends and he plays so much better.
Does Miffy know how to play Bard?
Miffy does... He knows how to play any champion. He's really good.
That's a good answer.
But my Bard's better.
Okay. We'll see if he takes the challenge sometime later in this split. But meanwhile, Origen, they're setting up. We keep some vision on that Baron.
But look at Origen yesterday against Giants, and look at Origen today against the top 3 team in the European LCS Spring Split, H2K. They look much, much better.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Like, it's very spot on to say that they're playing to their opponents because H2K are a fantastic squad. Giants, they made a lot more mistakes. H2K punish those kinds of mistakes very well. And Origen, they've just been very, very... they've shored up those holes in their play from yesterday. And I don't know if that's a one-off or if they're just really leveling up now, or if it is true, they just play to the level of their opponents. But right now, they're not giving an inch to H2K, and this is where it's gotten them.
Yeah, Origen in prime position to go 2-0 in their opening week, and that's definitely what they want. They're new to the split, so if they want to make it to Worlds, they have to finish pretty much top 3, and well on track so far.
Number 1 would guarantee them that particular position, and I think that's what they're looking to shoot for. So far, a strong statement out of Origen. On the side of H2K, just scrambling to try and stay alive in this game. 3 dragons to 0 is that scoreline. You take a look at the way the items are across the board, and it's just still painting a grim picture for H2K.
Yeah, because Sing is desperately trying to finish Mikhail's Crucible to get out of the CC, but at this point, it doesn't matter whether you break the CC because the damage alone will just straight up kill your team.
Bluelex prowling around.
He needs to steal this.
He has to be able to, but he
scouting.
doesn't quite have flash up. He's going in. The Tibbers is on him. They turn their attention, and the solo mission is a failure. Baron is going down. Origen has everything, and they're back into base.
Yeah, without flash or added distraction from the other H2K members, it's very unlikely that Eve will just be allowed to walking, not against an Origen that's playing as well as they're playing today.
Not at all. Absolutely flawless performance from them. So as goes down to clear out the wave on bottom. H2K, they've got no pressure anywhere on the map, really. They maybe can use the top wave that they've got pushing Otoamne, trying to push this one out, but still, it's going to be a long time before they can do much against this squad.
Yeah, and Pekka's even picking up an Elixir here because he's on 3 items already. Look at Ryu, Zoniast and Rod of Ages compared to Ludzyko, Abyssal Scepter, and Morel and Omicron Sword Shoes. Just popped his Elixir. Pekka is making his lead even bigger with this short spike, and he uses that power, he invests that power to get even more gold and snowball his lead even farther. Origen is not sitting back. They want to drive this victory home in the next 7 minutes.
Yep. One thing that you could say of a lot of teams in the lower parts of the bracket in the LCS, European LCS last split was just that they had trouble closing games out. This is clearly not an Origen problem. They know what to do in this situation. They know how to take the lead and to
keep it ahead of ourselves.
But they're not done yet. You're right. It's not over yet, but they are knocking at the door.
Yeah, Vayne. When a Vayne is allowed to do that much tower on a single wave, you know you're in trouble. So super short range
when your jungler is just tanking the turret laser, yeah, you're definitely in trouble. So
they have to give this up.
They have to give the inhibitor up. It's just falling way too fast. Another minute and a half till the next dragon. Origen can easily stroll that direction whenever they want and leisurely pick it up as easy as possible. Ryu is health bar. Where'd it go? He has to go back to base at this point. I think this could be another inhibitor.
Yeah, Castle traditionally the anti-mage gets dropped to 40% HP on a single combo from FLICKR here. This tower is likely going down. I think we'll see Panicking Jake coming out from H2K once this tower hits 50% or something. They have to try something.
Do indeed. Baron buff still empowering those minions, so Origen can push just a little bit longer.
Look for the Righteous Glory Sivir ulti. If they're gonna do something, it's right now.
Yeah, well, and there it goes. The equalizer gets thrown down though, and H2K's health bars are evaporating. A very big barrel separates H2K as Ryu throws down the Zhonya's. Desperation move onto Niels. It doesn't work. It's just not enough. And Origen, with 3 kills, will get another inhib and set their sights on the Nexus.
Again, fantastic kiting by Niels. Somehow, amongst all of that, he manages to stay alive, and Origen is looking to close out this game immediately.
Teleport on the Tibbers. Soaz says, I'm going to end this game in style. Clear through the last of the minions. Peke causing havoc to Yarnan in the back. They're looking to end it right now. And under 28 minutes, Origen have thundered to a 2-0 start in the LCS Summer Split.
Yeah, Miffy and Niels definitely very happy there. Soaz going on for the good old LCS group hug. But yeah, fantastic play by Origen. Honestly, did not expect them to play this well.
No, I think after their performance against Giants yesterday, there were still some open questions. Would they be able to compete with the team that very convincingly took the 3rd place in the spring split? And that answer is a resounding yes.
We've been hyping Niels 7-0-8 on Vayne. Didn't die a single time. Basically carried the game alongside Soaz and FLICKR, but definitely star performance for Niels. And in a league where AD carries shine, where the likes of Forgiven, Reckless get a lot of praise, Freeze, even Niels, I think he's definitely going to fit in. And it just shows why people were, back in the day when Niels barely joined Origen, he was rumored to be in line for the Fnatic spot. And now we see why, because he's a fantastic AD carry.
Absolutely. You know, and against some of these very, very strong squads, they'll still have their work cut out for them. But for now, what an incredible performance against a very good team. They just did not give them an opening.
Yeah, they have some breathing room. They're 2-0 in the LCS, best record they could hope for. They can afford to slip up a couple of times, and they're well on their way for playoffs, but the way they're playing right now, they want #1.
I don't think they're going to be resting on their laurels anytime soon. See them all crowding around.
Yeah, who did the miss damage? I did the most damage. No, that was me. Remember that double kill? Yeah.
Oh god.
A bit of boasting.
That Vayne performance was absolutely fantastic. But I do feel, yeah, H2K, they focused very heavily on trying to keep the mid down a little bit. Just didn't really do anything. And there's
Soaz with the baguette.
Some
top quality banter.
Tasty bread, man.
I love baguettes.
I do too.
Not gonna lie. They're bad for you though.
Yeah, it's carbo.
It's all carbs.
Get enough energy. You can carry like that.
You need energy with games like this. Production, get me a baguette.
A really big one.
Yes, indeed.
Not the petite one.
But yeah, going back to the game. Let's see where did it go wrong for H2K. And I think looking at Lulex, I think he spent too much time top. It's really hard in this double ranged lane on the top lane without an engaged opponent on your support. When the lane's this close to your tower, I don't think he should have been ganking there, because we saw afterwards he ganked Soaz in the bot lane and that worked. And I would have liked repeat ganks on the bot lane to get Oruame snowballing, because we saw how good H2K is once Oruame gets going on that Maokai. And
yeah, it didn't really work out that time. I agree. I think they could have forced maybe the swap down from Origen a little bit sooner too, and that might have freed them up to take an early tower top, then contest more dragons, and you know the whole game may have shaken out differently if that had been the case. I really feel like his very early game on Evelynn was quite good. He went Warrior Enchant as well, which is a little bit different than what we've been seeing Diamond Prox, you know, in his less successful attempt when Magus.
It's tricky. Once you get behind with Warrior, you get blown up immediately. But the thing is, if you look at Sivir, right? Sivir Janna, really safe lane, can farm, a lot of utility, disengage from Janna, no fight potential. Sivir's a utility AD carry, and the reason she's so strong in other regions, because it allows the jungle to snowball the mid lane and the top lane. Ryu was definitely under pressure there. Xpeke and Amazing did a phenomenal job basically camping Ryu, forcing his flash, killing him again, forcing him out of lane. Every time he loses some CS, 5 CS here, 6 CS here, 3 CS here, and Pekka just snowballs the lead. And then that frees up Pekka. He can go left, he can go right, but more pressure on the other lanes. And H2K they ran out of breathing room and they just got forced into their towers. And then Origen playing a nice roam style, Miffy joining in as well, didn't spend all his time in lane. Really good resource management from Origen.
Yeah, and really good map awareness too, and knowing what pressure points to hit. I did think it was very strange that H2K neglected Ryu so much, considering you know, casting against LeBlanc does not have the easiest time in lane, and facing down someone like FLICKR, that's a daunting task in and of itself. And I just feel like H2K could have done a lot more to take the pressure off him in the early game and help him get to a better mid.
Casting against LeBlanc is fine if it's a slow 1v1 matchup, because LeBlanc will never have enough damage to one-shot you, so it basically becomes a sustained war. Just trickle each other down, and eventually you base, and then you come back. But you get to level 6, you get to your items, that's fine. But once Amazing joins the fray, he starts joining in, body slam flash. Jungler gladly trades his flash from mid lane if he can return later without any pressure. And Lulix, he found Amazing in the jungle, but all he could do was watch and say, like, yo, goodbye, Amazing, you know, run out of my jungle. But he could never really kill him. And that was the problem for H2K. Too little offensive threat, especially in the early game. I'm going to reiterate, I think with a utility AD carry like Sivir, you don't need Janna. You want more power on support, you want more things happening. But 2 support bans and turn out in favor for Origen here.
Yep. Well, that was all that had to be done. Origen managed to grab that one in convincing style, and we're going to go ahead and send it back over to the analyst desk where Shox is joined by Origen support Mithy to break that game down.
Thank you very much, Pyrotechnics. And while joined here by Mithy, who is, once he can hear us, he can hear us. He can't hear me right now, which you will in a second, but the people at home can hear us. We're joined by Mithy after that second victory for OG in 2 days. Can you hear me yet?
No.
No? Well, wait, I have an idea. Do this. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. That was a pretty good 2 days for OG already. Tell us about this game specifically, because it was quite hyped in terms of 2 versus 2, and it ended up being the 2 versus 2.
Yeah, we wanted to lane swap. Plus, we have never played Vayne before. Like, we played it like 2 times. So, but I told Niels that I wanted to lock him in Vayne because it was really OP against that comp. And we wanted to lane swap, but then we blind swapped, they swapped on us. Then we were a bit scared, but they didn't really do much. And then we could have killed him, but Niels misplayed a bit. Even though I'm not sure, but I think we could have killed. But I'm not sure if the guy would have died if Niels auto-attacked before he hit. But yeah, that's kind of how it went.
Yeah, a pretty elaborate explanation, and it was very close as well. Tell me about more of your game plan, because, you know, we've repeated so many times that H2K is so good in the beginning of the game, and it did seem that you guys on every front just wanted to shut them down early.
Well, I don't know how good they are. We were very scared. I was very, I mean, not scared, but I have a lot of respect for Kazing, and I was, you know, like, hyped up, you know, like a bit scared in a way about the match. But so I gave my best and it worked out. But we haven't really seen, like, we haven't played against any of these teams online. I mean, offline. So it's hard for us to say how good we expect them to be or how good they are. Maybe they're much better than they play today. It's just a best of one, so you never know.
I think it's very interesting because you guys showed a lot of strengths there, even growth. I didn't see Niels really play Vayne in Challenger. One thing I wanted to pick up on was H2K in this game. They did so many things differently to how we're used to them doing. Only in 3 games, 2 after Kissing joined, did they ever give up the first 3 dragons. That is something completely not like the H2K we know. Just also the 2v2. Yesterday, Kissing said here on the analyst desk that he felt Hyanan and Kissing were the best 2v2. You guys certainly made it not look that way. What are your feelings on how strong Niels and yourself, Mithy, are? How good are you compared to every other bot lane?
We're fine.
You're fine?
Yeah.
We're fine.
You look better than fine in that game, I must say.
I love how Niels is sitting here. He's quite confident. You just keep it cool, and you're like, we're fine. And you like having a great scoreline yesterday, 0-2-16 on Alpha.
The thing is, well. I feel, or I'm getting the impression that a lot of LCS teams think 2v2 killing people or just trading and out-trading is important. But in reality, all you have to do is farm up, get a good comp, and not die to ganks and lose the game. And yeah, I think we do that good. We don't kill the enemy. I mean, we could have killed them, I think, this time because they screwed up. But it's all about punishing mistake. And if you try to force mistakes by over trading, like for Givendas, for example, it can sometimes backfire really hard, or you can win really hard. But I don't think that's the right approach to a game.
Well, the knowledge bombs dropped right here by Mithy. You guys did kill a lot of people, although in this game, of course, you have to win the game. And we have a replay that we want to line up. Very impressive, just showing how aggressive you guys were early, and some great play by you as well. And you wanted to set this one up.
Yeah, so what happens here is that we have TP priority on them. The Maokai has no TP, we do. So we can basically force a 4 versus 3 on bot lane, which means we can dive them easy with the picks we have. And then we just basically call it off. We tell Peke we're gonna dive bot, so you can like just do whatever you have to do. So you are here at least 3 seconds earlier than Kassadin.
Flash.
Yeah, like just whatever, you know, because he can, like if Kassadin roams first, it can be a bit annoying, but if he roams at the same time as him, it's fine. And we just set it up. We're 1 man up, so all we have to do is just click our spells and kill them.
Yeah,
they
or
can't
run
do anything.
click right now.
Yeah. So yeah, they smell it too. They start running, but well, I mean, Janna has to flash out. But yeah, as I said, it's like 3 versus 4, so there's nothing they can do. I flash and stun
Pretty
them.
nice stun.
Yeah, then we just keep chasing them, and then I think Soa starts trolling at some point here.
Oh, Neil's
yeah,
actually
we get 2 kills. Yeah, and then Soas is trolling here. Yeah.
A little bit overconfident at that time, but well, you guys had a really good game overall.
Yeah, I completely agree. And one of the biggest things coming out of Champion Select was how the Evelyn would affect the game. And I have to say, Origen did a great job in the early game. You had enough information to kind of predict where Eve was going to be. And you guys know Lulex. He goes very greedily through the jungle and backs. And amazing read it perfectly. That's the one thing. The early gank onto Cass.
It felt that they didn't respect Amazing enough because I think, actually I don't remember, but I think we banned Rek'Sai, I'm not sure.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, and we got, like, basically Rek'Sai and Gragas are the best junglers right now, and we banned Rek'Sai, so if we get Gragas, then the enemy jungler is a bit screwed in terms of early game pressure, and they didn't care about it, so I felt they disrespected Amazing in that regard, and he did a very good job early game, and they tried to gank me top, but I kind of smelled it, it was pretty obvious, so they didn't really get anything out of it top, and I don't know. Once Eve shows, she loses all the pressure, and then Amazing could freely gank mid, even flash in mid and do whatever because he won't get counter ganked.
Yep, good read, good picks, good game overall, and 2-0 on the very first games of Origen in the LCS. Congratulations,
Thank you very much.
All right, we need to go on cooldown, but when we return, Pepinero and Giants Gaming will take on Soren and the Copenhagen Wolves, so don't go anywhere.
Alright, so maybe I'm crazy today and delusional, so we should not listen to me.
Okay. Yeah, as usual.
Per usual, don't listen to me.
They founded the Monsoon, will keep Lulex alive, just barely, but Niels finds one. Can he do another? Condemn against the wall.
Here's Soas.
Double kill.
You have to back, you have to back, you have to back. You have to
Fight
back.
them, fight them.
Okay, we're coming.
Into.
You can delay them. I'm soon here.
Nice.
Oh, this guy up.
Kill him! Yeah! Well, and there it goes. The equalizer gets thrown down, though, and H2K's health bars are evaporating. A very big barrel. Origen have thundered to a 2-0 start in the LCS Summer Split.